Once again, folks, good morning. Happy Friday, everyone. Please note that this call is being recorded and we will place the recording on our YouTube channel. So, so our topic today is some of the exciting storage updates that we're going to talk about. So, first of all, and by the way, the slide deck will be available. Um, Once we after the session, it will be a part of the link of the slide deck should be in the recording uh, description. Okay, so the two updates that we're going to talk about today is the availability of NFS 4.1 for Azure File Storage. It's in public preview. As I mean, if you have attended in your previous session, we talked about NFS 3.0 support for the blob storage. This one is NFS 4.1 storage available now for Azure File Storage. So just keep in mind the version difference, 3.0 for Blob, 4.1 for Azure Files, and just keep in mind that uh, this is still in preview. And just to be NFS is a very popular protocol, and it has its roots in open source. This is not a broad discussion about NFS, so if you want to read about it, there's a lot of material available. I just put a few points just to set the context. And this is something when we talk about 4.1 support, NFS 4.1 support and Azure File Storage, there are some things to keep in mind. First of all, you will not get this support by default. What you will have to do is you will have to go and run some PowerShell or CLI command to register for that support. Okay, you have to turn it on. And once you turn it on, then you should be able to use it. It's not available in all region. It's only available in certain region. So if your storage account do not exist there, you will not get support. Another thing is it's only available with premium tier. So what you will have to do is you will have to create an Azure file storage account with premium tier, and then you will have to you will be able to enable that support. And finally, you will not get support on existing accounts. No matter what you do, you will have to have support. You have to create a new storage account, and then you will be able to get that support. Okay, so just um, keep that in mind. So that's, by the way, this is the first thing I want to discuss in terms of NFS 4.1 support. And then other topic is object replication that has gone now GA. And that's kind of open doors to a number of interesting use cases, and we will talk about them as well. Okay. So any questions? Okay. So let's move on. So in order to how you enable the support, as I said, you have to turn on, you have to run Power CLI command, no matter, I mean, whatever your choice is, CLI or PowerShell, register it. And sometime, so when I ran this, it registered pretty quickly. I mean, it took like only a few minutes. Actually, it was almost instantaneous. But just keep in mind, in some cases, you may have to, um, you may have to wait for, as they say, up to 30 minutes. Then you will be able to kind of see the results. Like I mean, when you check again, you will see that support enable. The third is NFS is interesting. You have to have network connectivity, secure network connectivity to the storage. You have to establish that. And if you remember our previous session on SMB, NFS 3.0 support for blob storage, same principle apply here. You have to have secure network connectivity where your VM is to the storage account. Then you will be able to create a file share. Otherwise, if you try to create a file share, you're gonna get an error. And let me show you what that means. So these are the supported network connection. Instead of I have just listed there for reference. I think picture worth 1,000 words. So this is what it is. So let's say you have a storage account. So either the storage account has a private endpoint in your VNet, I mean private link. So if you have create a private endpoint into your VNet, and then your VM is running over there, then it will be able to, you will be able to create that, you will be able to create that share or NFS share on that VM. Second is you have a storage account and you do service endpoint from a VNet. Okay, then you will be able to do that. Or you have VNet peering and you do private endpoints. This is the second, the middle picture. That's how. So you have a peer VNet which connects to a VNet where you have the private endpoint. That's allowed. Or you have a VM on-prem. Okay, that is connected to the cloud through site-to-site VPN or ExpressRoute. Okay, in that case, and you have a private endpoint in that VNet, and in that case, you will be able to create a share to that storage account, mount that NFS share onto the VM on-prem. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Just creating an NFS, uh, enabled storage account or storage account and NFS enabled share in a file share, that will not, you will not be able to create that NFS mount on your VM. Your VM has to meet one of these criteria before you can share that. Um, you know, you can share that VM. You can share mount that NFS volume onto your virtual machine. Okay. Any questions? Okay, so let's move further. There are certain things which are not yet supported. So this is a list here. And just keep in mind in terms of NFS support, it is basically there are certain optional feature which are not yet supported. So just keep that in mind. I have listed there those limitations. So let's take a look at a quick demo. So here where I am on that. Let's go here. So what you will have to do is, first of all, you have to run these commands. So this is CLI, this is PowerShell. You have to run these commands. Once you are able to run those commands, then you will be able to connect to that, then you will be able to create those storage account with NFS share. So what I'm going to do is I'm here, I'm going to do AZ login. So this is basically on my machine, I'm doing WSL2. So I'm going to do, okay, and let's do that. So let's go in here. By the way, you can do it. If you don't mind, if you can put yourself on mute if you're not speaking, that'd be great. Thank you. So from here, I'm just gonna copy the code so I can sign in. Yes. And here we go. So give it a second. Just want to show you how does it look like when you have, so let's do AZ account show. So it is tied to my Azure internal account. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to find out if my subscription has access for the NFS share. So I'm going to look at this command. Sorry, this one. I'm just going to copy this. Actually, I think that should be enough. Let me just copy that and paste it here. Yeah, so as you can see, the provider, NFS share provider is registered. So how, so let's create a NFS share or a storage account where we can create NFS shares. So let's do that. So first thing we will have to do is um, let's create a new resource, and we're going to pick a storage account, and yes, that's the name of the storage account. We're going to pick a region where that it's supported. Um, just keep in mind, it will not be storage v2. It has to be file storage. And please note, it's only supported for premium. So it is only supported for premium file storage. And you can, of course, you can only do locally redundant. Okay. So once you do that, then what you have to do is you want to create a private endpoint to the storage. Otherwise, you will not be able to create an amount and an that. So what we're going to do, we're going to go, so we're going to be, um, and we're going to pick file, and we're going to pick this VNet, and there is a client subnet that you're going to pick. With that, we're going to move further. Okay. And on the advanced, and by the way, you don't, if you remember NFS v3, we have to set it when we were creating the storage account. This thing, you can set it when you're creating the file storage accounts. Okay. So with that, you will just do a review and create, and it's going to create the storage account. Just to save time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an existing storage account that I have already enabled, and let's go to that. This is the storage account that I have created. Okay, I think it's not that one, it's this one. As you can see, it only supports file shares. That's it. The only thing that is supported here is file share because it's a file storage, premium file storage account. Okay. So with that, let's click on what file shares we have. We have one share. Just keep in mind that uh, you cannot look at these file share through Storage Explorer. The Storage Explorer is not yet supported for this. Okay, because of obvious reason, because you need network connectivity. But in any case, so let's create a new file share. We call it NFS data 2, and just keep in mind, look here, NFS v2. And these are the root squash. I mean, this is, if you are familiar with Linux, it has Linux implications. So basically, by default, it's no root. Otherwise, it will, uh, you know, it has implication how different user interact with this folder. So I will highly recommend you look into it before you start creating your shares, because that may impact how, I mean, access to your mounted share. And just keep in mind, right now, the support is to mount only on Linux, not on Windows. Okay, so with that, so let's say we just create that. It successfully created the share. Let's go in here. That's the instruction on how to connect it to Linux. So I have a VM in Linux. This is my VM name. So NZ Linux, it's a VM Linux machine. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to mount this share on that VM. So first of all, uh, come on. So let's start from the beginning. And what we are going to do is we're going to mount that. So this is going to be your mount path, and the sample code would be this. So first of all, you have to make sure that you install all the NFS common utility. So you have to install that. I have already installed it, so I'm not going to go through this step. I'm just going to go through this and try to run it. And let's go in here. and let's run this script. So first thing first, we just created a directory, and now look at this script. What we are doing is we are trying to uh, mount the folder, the NFS data2 folder that we created onto this particular VM. Okay. With that, the folder is mounted. So let's go to that folder and we can do. Here you go. So if we look at it, there are no files. So let's create a file. So what we can do is we can do hello or txt, and let's open it. And let's just save the file. The file is there. So the point is very simply, you have created without using an expensive infrastructure, you have now created a file share in Azure File Storage, and you are able to mount that share into your Linux VM in a minute. So, and now you can start using this across your virtual machines.
Maybe there's a
Any,
question from the chat.
go ahead.
So
You
how
keep
is
it.
that different from Azure Files?
Oh, yeah. So basically, it's built on top of Azure Files. Azure Files, when they came out, they allowed you to, mounting shares using SMB. This is just a different way to mount the shares, NFS. So underpinnings of the Azure Files is still the same. It's the same platform as a service infrastructure where it's providing you file storage as a service, but it's allowing you to connect using a different protocol. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Any other questions? Okie doke. So that's kind of pretty much it in regards to the discussion. Oh yeah, by the way, so let's see if that account has been created. Let me see here. It's okie dokie. So let's go in here. Let's look at this storage account and let's go to the resource group. I just want to show you something here, which may. Okay, so where that storage account go that we were trying to create? Okay, so should be here. So let me refresh the screen. One, two. Okay, maybe we'll come back to it later on. I wanted to show you the storage account. Just keep in mind. So, for example, in this one, you in the configuration section, you will have to turn off secure transfer required. This is one of the features that is not yet supported with NFS. Okay, so that is not a big deal in a sense that anyways you are on a secure network, so secure transfer. I mean that's I mean if you don't have it, you are on a secure network connectivity either through private endpoints or through what we call service endpoints. So that is not needed, but still that feature is not yet available, and that's why if you have it enabled, you will not be able to mount the share, and it will give some weird error. You have to go in and you have to disable it. Then you will be able to mount that share. Okay. So, okay, let's quickly, I think we are a bit behind. So let's quickly go on the second part, object replication. So we all know that Azure Storage allow you to do geo-replication. You have a storage account, you can replicate that storage account, you can set up geo-replication into another region, you can even make the data on the other side read-only, okay? That definitely you can do. But let's say that you don't want that. You don't want the entire storage account to be replicated. You only want to replicate a certain blob container. The blob containers are coming in based on data processing, and you want to replicate it to a different region, so you can process them, efficiently, or you can replicate it to the other side, to a partner or something. I mean, without setting up all that massive FTP or other file replication, data replication mechanism. That's the thing. This is right now has gone into GA. It allows you to copy data, replicate data from a storage account to another. It can be in the same region. It can be in a different region. It can be in a different subscription. And at the same time, it can be in a different AD tenant. So you can replicate data from, let's say that you have a storage account where you're processing data, and some of the files are needed by a partner who is in a different AD tenant. Let's say yours is Contoso, there is, um, some, some other site, XYZ AD site. In that case, what will happen is you can still do the replication. You can replicate or objects from one side to the other. So you can do all the way between same subscription, between different tenants, and between different region. This is some of the prereqs. You have to turn on change feed and blob versioning. That you have to turn on. Please note, this is not yet supported for hierarchical namespace, which is ADLS v2. Okay, and some of the scenarios are that basically, instead of relying on compute workloads to do the replication as well, you can basically do replication at the storage level. Okay, and or spending CPU cycle on replicating data, you can rely on storage to do the data replication. Just keep in mind, of course, the storage and bandwidth cost will still apply. So that is still there. That cost will be still there. So just keep that in mind. And setting up is real easy. You can set up either you want to, which type of blob you want to move. Do you want to move all the new blobs, or is it only modified blobs, or everything? So all of that, or I mean, in terms of replication, you can do all of these things. Very simple to set up. So for example, let's say that we are in this kind of we will go into a storage account. So let's go into a storage account here, and in the containers, let's add a container called APL items type today. Okay, and let's say just create. So it's gonna create an APL items container. Now we can go back and we can go into the NZ data source, and we are gonna set up replication. So the way you do is you go into blob service, set up object replication. It will ask you where you wanna set up replication rule. So what you will do is, so just keep in mind, so we already set up two rules here. You cannot set up more than two replication rules. So let's pick up another account. So let's do this. Let's go back to our, and once again, so you cannot have more than two rules per storage account. So I'm gonna go and set up an application rule, and I'm gonna pick up the destination storage account, and that's gonna be test 2, and I'm gonna pick a source container. That's the test item 1. So let's create one. Okay, so let's create a container called source. Let's quickly create it. And now let's set up the policy. So we go into object replication, set up the policy. So we pick up test2, and we're going to pick up APL source. In terms of destination, we're going to pick up APL items. And here you can change it. Only new object. We're going to say everything. Okay, and just save it. And we're going to save and apply. So at this point, just keep in mind there is no SLA how fast the replication is, how quickly the item will show up on the other side. Yes, item will show up in the other side. What it does is behind the scene, it creates the policy and it does the things to set this thing in motion. So what we can do is we can go in here and we can go into the Storage Explorer, and let's go into the APL source and let's upload a few files. And let's do these 3 files. Open, and it's uploaded those files. And what we can do is we can go on the other side and let's see if we have those files in the other folder. So let's quickly, I know we are running short on time. Let's quickly go into the test2 and check out. So what happens is, as I said, they will not show up immediately, but they may show up. It may take a bit of a time for them to show up. So just keep that in mind, because we just set up the policy, so they will take a few minutes to show up. But that's how you set it up, and you cannot set up more than 2 policies on a particular storage account. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Any questions in the IM? Let me just check.
All good on the chart, Naveed. I'm looking there.
Okay, good. Thank you. So folks, if there are no other questions, I'm gonna give everybody their few minutes back, and we will hope to see everybody in another Azure Power Lunch session next week. So I hope everybody had a great weekend, and happy Friday. So thank you for joining.
Thanks, Naveed. That was a good
Thanks, Naveed. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.